Conversate for a few.
Welcome to the next episode of Conversate for a Few. I'm Jonna.
I'm Alan. This is not a podcast about classical music.
Absolutely is not. This is a podcast about hip hop. What we doing today, bruh?
Topic for today is: should record labels be responsible for an artist's well-being?
Okay.
It's a big question.
You know it is. It's a big question today.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know that it was much of a issue in eras before.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't much.
Mhm.
We was more concerned with industry rule number 4080, not whether they was going to, bail us out.
Right.
I guess we could jump right into it. Should you just give your opinion on what you, a yes or no,
Yeah.
and then we can kind of go from there?
Yeah. I say yes.
Oh, wow.
And I say yes because, like, the artists are going to generate money that sustains the label.
True.
Let's say, and I'm not saying every artist. You got certain artists that's breadwinners for the label, right?
Right.
So however it goes, it's an artist that's going to generate money to sustain the label, and in generating that money, right? In generating the money for the label, that artist will never share equally with the label.
Okay.
And I know the label puts money in the marketing and etc. But I could actually argue that point today because labels kind of won't even sign you if you're not already popping on social media.
Right.
Well, that is part of the package now. They want you to already have a buzz on social media and have actually kind of move some units.
Right. So, okay.
Or clicks, I should say.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, shit. Today, clicks are units.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, okay, so my question is, just to clarify, to make sure I'm getting your stance. Yeah. Because the label is going to benefit or reap the highest end of reward, they should have some stake in the well-being of the artist.
Right. Absolutely.
I would agree if they were in the wellness business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
yeah, they're in the business of making money.
They're in the business of making money. Like they don't.
So here's the thing. This is why it's even a question, because it really becomes a moral question.
There we go. It does. That's what it is.
Morals don't necessarily take precedence when business is on the table.
This is a business company. This is a business question, but we kind of answering it from a moral standpoint, and that's almost, for lack of a better word, it's unfair to the question. You see what I'm saying? Because it's like morally, like should a CEO care about the janitor? You know what I mean? At every facility, you know what I mean? So he got 100 facilities across the United States. He should essentially morally care about the well-being of the janitor at the facility that makes him the least amount of money. You know what I mean? But from a business standpoint, we know that 9 times out of 10, the CEO could care less if the janitor makes it work today. But can you get a janitor that will make it to work today? We don't even care why he didn't make it to work. You know what I mean? Like that's typically how it goes. So I'm just hard pressed to understand why we expect different from the music industry.
Well, I don't necessarily. I say I agree with that. See, I'm of the belief that the people should be valued either way. Specifically, if they are, like, if Drake was my artist, I would make sure he's good, because him being good is actually, and it's funny. I could argue that the moral perspective actually will feed into the business perspective. Because I could care about the well-being of my artist. I want him to be straight, because he's gonna make me money. He's my number one workhorse.
I totally understand it. I totally understand it from a moral perspective. And I'm not speaking. I'm not caping. I won't. I
Yeah,
won't.
yeah,
I mean, I think you understand that, but I want to make sure
yeah,
the audience understands that this ain't on some Skip and Shannon undisputed. I'm not just picking a side and caping for a side that I don't believe
yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not even caping for, you know what I mean, the fact that they shouldn't do it. I just think we should probably monitor our expectations when it comes to things like that. You know what I mean? They don't. We don't expect the music industry. We don't speak about the music industry caring about the well-being of an artist in any other genre of music. We know for a fact that the labels allowed them, the metalheads and the rock and roll dudes, to ruin themselves for decades without stepping in to do anything, as long as they were printing money. You know what I mean? I don't know why we would expect I do know why. I do have a theory, but I don't know why. But I have a theory, and we'll get to that. But I don't. For the sake of this part of the conversation, I don't know why we would expect record labels or the music industry itself to treat today and these artists any different than they did before.
Yeah. So I'll say this: I don't expect it. I
Right.
don't expect them to do a damn thing.
Right. And I guess the question really wasn't do we expect it? It was should they?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I
So
mean? So yeah.
right, right. I think that I think they should, because think of, if we can list a lot of great, brilliant artists that died broke
Right.
and but made millions for the label. And I know people can say, well, they should have negotiated the contract better, or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
But even with a good negotiation of contract, they still find ways to rob you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so we do know that that's part of the business framework of America. Even if we are quote unquote doing good business, they still find ways to cut corners, ways not to give you all of what you may be owed.
Right.
You
That's
know what I mean?
business. Like you said, that's business in America.
Nowadays,
Yeah.
analytics are telling you really what you're making.
Right. Right.
Um,
Um.
so yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying. I agree with that part of it. I just don't know. Okay, maybe it's time for this part of the conversation. The reason I think we've gotten to a point where we have a expectation, or this, not even an expectation, but there has to be some level of expectation for the question to even exist, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Should they or should not they? You know what I mean? There has to be some level of expectation for the question to even exist. And I think we got there. Honestly, it's a byproduct of a good thing. We started seeing faces that look like ours running the labels. And when you see a face that looks like yours, you expect for that face to care about the human that they signed. You know what I'm saying? Not just sign somebody because they were a profitable artist, give them a bag and allow them to continue to ruin their lives without any step in, without any mental health advocacy, without anything. It's like, okay, we'll find another one. That's basically how record labels treat, especially artists of the day. And would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And with that said, right, I think the point that you made earlier when you were saying that in no other genre do we expect the labels to care about the artist's well-being, and the rock and roll people ruining themselves and stuff, etc. But here's, to me, I think a big difference is those people that number one, rap and hip hop artists are just uniquely different from anything ever before it. Okay, and what I mean by that is these other genres, it was never a time that they weren't invited to Grammys, stuff like that. So I'm saying that it looks like hip hop already was fight. They were fighting an uphill battle just to be respected.
Yeah. Yeah,
from
I
the
get it.
start, and that was and when you look at it, of course, hip hop is predominantly, it's particularly in its inception, dominated by blacks. So
Right.
now we're saying that we don't. So to me, it's translated into y'all niggas don't deserve to be here, and we
Yeah.
don't think it's gonna last, and we
Right.
don't really think y'all music got any value. So
Right.
it's tied to the American perspective, that how they always looked at. And remember, it's a male. It was, and really still is, a male dominated genre.
Yeah.
The view that white America have of black men
Mm-hmm.
factors into all of why we really don't give a damn. But if we can make some money off y'all, then, you know,
Okay, so that's the absolute truth, right?
yeah,
So essentially, record labels, the music business, and it's on a whole treats black men the same exact way America does.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like we don't really care about your
Yeah,
well being. We just need to get that bread off your back. You know,
right.
um, which would lend itself to a label owned by a face that looks more like yours. Inherently, you wanting it to have more of a care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
More of a say so in your well being. You would hope that that would be the stance. I
Mm-hmm.
had a conversation with Pop's son Malik Glass, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he had he really believes that labels should look out for artists. And I'm like, I don't know that I don't know that it makes sense to want that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I don't know
Oh
that it
yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense to want it, especially if you just look at history. It doesn't make sense to want it because it's not gonna happen.
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. Not wanted. I think it doesn't make sense to expect it. We shouldn't set that as an expectation, because
You should
because history shows you it's not going to happen.
you shouldn't even go into this situation wanting it to happen. I mean, yeah, of
Yeah,
course you would want it to happen, but if it's enough of you that wants it to happen, you hoping it happens, and if you hoping it happens, a part of you that expects it to happen, get out of here.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
gonna happen. What you
yeah.
probably should do, and this is what I told Malik, a person with your thinking needs to find a
Mm-hmm.
team and create a record label that does exactly what it is that you say a record label should do, because that's the only way they're gonna exist. And
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely the only way they're going to exist consistently. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
has to create record labels with a moral compass, with a heart. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And not allow their artists to ruin themselves. You know.
Right.
Um. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's so many ways to areas to go with this. I don't know how, if we want to get dark this early on in the conversation, but I would just put the question like this, and
Okay.
it can take it. We can go with it where we want to go. Do you think the labels care whether their artists live or die?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Let's talk. Let's separate things just a little bit for people because I
Okay.
think that could be a really harsh answer. Um. We can speak about the record label as an entity, right? And then we can speak about people inside that building. That's different
Mm-hmm.
from the record label. There are going to be people inside that building that care. You see what I'm saying? There are going to be people that are close to an artist that care, that want that artist to make it, that want that artist to have a fulfilling life. But the entity itself
Mm-hmm.
couldn't give a damn. I don't think. I don't think they make and they make more money with you dead.
Right. And that, and so, and that is my point. And of course, that goes into all of us going through a wave for a few years now of young hip hop artists dying.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the the whole thing about labels taking out insurance policies on the artists.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't you?
What if
That's kind of
okay?
my like.
If they, if they, but see, not if you care. So you're
If
only taking it out because you are counting on death, and you
no,
know you're going to make money. You're going to you get cash
I'm
out with the
I'm
policy and the music.
I'm devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I'm getting the policy because I know that this person is reckless, and he was reckless when I met him. And I'm getting ready to give this reckless person. I'm potentially going to put this reckless person in a position where they have millions of dollars. One thing that I know is that money doesn't solve a problem. It just makes you more what you are. It's going to make this person more reckless. I'm also going to invest a lot of money in this person. And the only way to get it back, if this person dies, is this insurance policy. You see what I'm saying?
But yeah, but that's not the only way because they know they're going to get money off the music.
I don't know this thing's going to be a hit.
Okay, so we're talking about someone like a Prince.
I
Let's
mean,
say.
yeah, but you got to understand, I signed Prince day one. I don't know that the public's going to like Prince. I'm talking about on the way in. I'm not asking you to sign
Right.
once you
Yeah.
Prince. I'm not going to ask
Yeah.
Jay-Z to sign after he dropped Hard Not Life. That don't make no sense. You see what I'm saying? But I am going to ask him to sign it on the way in with reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
And the artists that the two names we chose, Prince and Jay-Z, they might not get asked to sign it, but NBA Youngboy is. Kodak Black is.
Yeah.
Because the likelihood that them niggas get themselves shot seems to be a lot higher.
Right.
You know?
So,
Now,
yeah, go ahead.
Now, on your side of things, I could say that labels are purposely signing artists that they know part of what they selling is the fact that you could die any day now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I could go about my business as a label and not sign artists that could possibly, I mean, all of us could die any day, but that could possibly go get shot from a op.
Mm-hmm.
All of us ain't doing that every day. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I could not sign those types of artists. I could be the type of label that wants to sign, you know, something a little more calm, threatening.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't choose to do that. So I do understand your point, you know. Based on who they sign,
Yeah.
they should be maybe they should be willing to accept the risk.
Yeah.
You know. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, what, from your perspective, right? Because they really don't exist in the way they used to. But A&R, what was their job, and was it ever their job to um, help the artist develop in a way in terms of um, I would say
like personally?
particularly the artist is reckless, like cutting down on the recklessness, like kind of conducting themselves. You know, like you get certain people get media training of how to do interviews and stuff like that. Like, was it ever a time about was that ever a part of the artist repertoire?
I think that was part of artist development, and some of that may have fallen on the A&R. I don't know if that was specifically the A&R's job. At some places, that was the A&R jobs. Like, I think that was kind of Wayno's job a little bit. You know what I mean? When he was running around with Chris and Neef and Young Guns and them boys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a lot to keep them out of trouble, but it was also to do admin and management duties to make sure things was running smooth and that kind of thing. So I think that's part of it. But like we've been saying though, from a human aspect, if I'm A&R your project, right, and I see you a wild boy, and I want you to make it to the finish line, I'm probably gonna pull you to the side and bend your ear like, yo,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, fall back a little bit at least. You see what I'm saying? But you can't. You mean I don't know that it was the A&R's job. Not it wasn't in his job description. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Now, but when you, like I said again, you close if it's these smaller labels, I might tell you, you know, A&R that project, make sure they don't get in no trouble. I just gave you 2 jobs though, because that A&R in the project ain't to make sure you don't get in no trouble. It's to make sure you have the best possible product.
Yeah, right.
You know. I was thinking, I don't know about this era, but I do believe there was an era where labels were putting artists in situations to get help. They just won't telling us about it because the help that the artists needed were things that we looked down on.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I
I can
mean?
see that.
Somebody like Rough Riders. I don't think they was letting DMX flounder without trying to get him help.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You see what I mean? So I think there is an aspect of. I mean, the other day, I was watching this thing, and Lil Uzi Vert was giving a eulogy at Desto. His artist Desto
Mm-hmm.
got shot and killed a while back, and
Mm-hmm.
they were showing pictures
Yeah.
of clips from the eulogy, and he was speaking about how they had sent him to rehab, and she called him every day
Mm-hmm.
he was in rehab, but we didn't know he was in rehab.
Yeah.
You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So I think a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
these artists may be getting help from teams internally that may come from the label, may come from their own team or whatever. But I do think they may be getting a certain level of help or advice that the public's not privy to.
Right.
And then when shit
Okay.
fall all the way off the wheels, we like, damn, they don't give a damn about the artists, and we blame them, like, you know. So, but
Yeah.
I don't know that that's happening in every case. I could just speak to those
Mhm.
two. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, as everything that we discussed so far, I'm reflecting over, right? My
Yeah.
perspective and the answers I've said and what you've shared, right? And I figured out my answer, my
Mm.
initial answer, it comes from the perspective of a fan of the music and not a
Uh,
business person.
right,
You know what I
right.
mean? I feel like, and it really came up like kind of about DMX. I know that some of the execs
Yeah,
um, tried to do certain stuff to help him
right.
to get help. And I don't think they was doing it because they knew he was going to sell a million records, right?
Hmm.
I think they liked him
Yeah,
and they actually cared about him. They had some genuine love
yeah,
for X
yeah.
because they saw his value as an artist and what he brought to the culture. And
Right.
so I think so that's the way I'm looking at it. I feel like, so my perspective is, I feel like it ain't even like really about the money, but if the artists are good artists making quality music, they're contributing something. It's just
Mm.
it's just a natural kind of thing
Yeah.
to want them to be well.
It's
You
like a
know what I mean?
Medici of well-being, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
Kanye was talking
yeah,
about the Medici family. It's like the Medici's of well-being.
yeah,
You want to keep the artists that are giving the world this great art, like keep them lively, keep them thriving. And it seems like that
right.
would be the goal of a record label or a music industry, you know. Um, but it's not.
It's not, and
It's not.
especially where the music has come to now, and the way the music is distributed, and
Yeah.
how I just have to. I don't know another way to say it, but overall, and this is kind of a blanket statement, but the way just the music has been devalued. It doesn't even garner that type of.
Mm.
It don't even garner from people that type of care and
Yeah.
concern,
Yeah.
because it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like you're not even really dedicated to
Yeah.
this craft and to
I
the art
mean,
like that anyway.
because they've washed it down to, for lack of a better word, you get less artists and more street nigga. Like you get more credit for being a street nigga than you do being a great artist.
Right?
You see what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
absolutely.
And when somebody, I mean, they hate to speak about it this way, but it seems as if when one of these dudes die nowadays, and I think the frequency that it happens has a lot to do with this, but I think the way they're portraying themselves and the way fans view them is being received different. Is being received differently too. This way, uh, when we lost people like Big Pop, Big L, Jam Master Jay, there was a blow to the art scene.
Right, right.
You see what I'm saying? To the music. It's like what when this is happening nowadays, it feels a lot, even from the masses, not from me. It feels a lot
Yeah,
less about the music and more about it some street shit. You see what I'm saying?
right.
Like it's
So it's a lot less personal because I don't know. I'm not involved and connected to your street shit. I'm
right,
connected. We connected to
right,
Pac, L, Pun
right,
because of
big,
their
yeah,
music.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh damn, because ain't another one of what you just did is not coming no more.
Right. That's a fact. That's a fact. And yeah, that's got to be a lot of what that's about.
Yeah.
They're connecting. The lore is being presented and forced on us a lot more than the music is.
Yeah, yeah.
The lore and the drama that's going around going on around the stories, especially to our generation and maybe a little bit younger than us. You see what I'm saying? The kids are probably way more tapped into the music. You know what I mean? So it's a gut punch for them.
Mm-hmm.
But it ain't. It's happening so often that it's not as big of a gut punch as it was for us. It's just not.
Right. Yeah, it isn't.
It's just not. You can see it in the way they're responding. It's like, lost another one.
Yeah. Oh man, okay, I'm gonna take it one notch up
Yeah,
because I'm about to contradict myself. I don't know that the record labels should care
I know.
about the artists.
I know.
If the
I know.
artists don't, because see, now we talking, I'm glad you brought all that up. Because see, now if you don't have any value for your own life, and that's what you talking about, and you don't value other life the way you speak about life in your music,
Right.
why the hell are we gonna value you?
This record label is not a helping hand mission. I'm here to make bread. You want to make money? I want to make money. If you want to live, nigga,
Right,
you'll do that.
right. But do you see my point? Even
I
the
do.
morality point, you can be defeated by the businessman if you say, okay, let's talk morality. But okay, you make op music.
Right. I should care more than
You
you.
don't care about your life. You living reckless. You
Right.
willing to take other people's lives,
Right.
and you know other people want to take your lives, and you don't have no problem with it. And putting it on wax, and neither do they. So why do you want me to care about your own life? You don't care
Right.
about your life.
Right.
So it's kind of, it gets to the point where where you can't expect somebody to care more about you and have more respect and concern about you than you have about yourself, and more than what you
You
display
got to
for other
think.
people.
You got to think. It's like you want me to care. Not only do you want me to care, you want me to ultra care. Like the way you said it. You got ops. You trying to kill ops. You know ops is trying to kill you. You celebrating it in the music. You were doing that shit when I met you. Who am I to make you clean that up? You was gonna do it
Mm-hmm.
whether you met me or not, because you was already doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna help you make some money off of it, and hopefully you be smart enough to get yourself out of it. And if not, you was gonna die
That's on you.
anyway. Do you see how they looking at it?
And
You was
maybe
gonna
a lot
die
sooner
anyway.
before I signed you.
Way quicker.
Yeah,
Way
yeah.
quicker.
And that's kind of, and unfortunately, what we're saying is true. It's crazy because unfortunately, that's like just the dark, cold truth of it.
That's the dark, cold truth. That's the dark, cold truth. And the other dark, cold truth is, as long as we're buying it, they gonna sign it. You see what I'm saying? Like, as long as it's
Yeah,
being bought, they
yeah.
gonna sign it. You know what I mean? And as long as they sign it,
Mm-hmm.
people gonna live it out and try to get signed doing it. So it's just a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it ain't up to the labels to care.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to people like me and you to care. That, you know what I mean? That talk to
Not
the
yet.
Malik glasses
Right.
and you see what I'm saying? It ain't up to the labels. The labels is not gonna care. Should they even
Yeah.
care? No, they have never done it. That's not how the business was set up. If the business was, if should hospitals care? Yeah, because that's how the fuck that business was set up.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Do you
Right.
understand what I'm saying? It's simple.
Mm-hmm.
Should a clinic care? Yes, because that's how that business was set up.
Right. You know what? I'm sticking with that, man. They shouldn't care. No, they shouldn't care about the well-being. I disagree with it, with my whole original premise and perspective. And the reason why, is because I want everybody to now take if we're being truthfully honest, no, damn it, everybody gotta take accountability for what they saying and doing.
Period.
So
Period.
no, and that leads to a greater discussion. For we don't have to discuss it now because it's an independent topic. But we go. But I'll just ask you this question. You'll
Yeah.
understand the topic. If the content changed, do you think the labels would care more?
Mm. Mm. No. You think they would?
I don't know. But okay, so I'm gonna ask it like this. Okay, watch. Do you think the labels? I'm gonna say, okay. Do you think the label cared more about Nas during the time of Illmatic? It was written Jay doing Reasonable Doubt than they did an NBA Young Boy or
no.
Whoever Chef G.
No, not at all.
Now,
not at all. Nope. I don't think the labels care any more about that human than they do these humans. At all. At all. You know? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No. Okay, so no. So that's it. So, but out of that, my point being is that we must.
It's up to us.
And it's so funny because I know your favorite type of rap, right?
Yeah.
But like when we talk about this,
I've been sitting here thinking it for like the last
the content.
Yeah.
Do we really want the content to be cleaned up and changed?
No. We don't let this shit get way too out of hand. It's our fault. You know what I mean? Like, it's our fault. Our generation accepted the shift from black culture, like positive black culture images, to street life. That happened on our watch. And we've said it on this show before. You see what I'm saying? That happened on our watch, and we ate it up. You know what I mean? Ate it up. The difference is this is an art conversation, right? Hip hop was still closer to its inception, so it was still more artfully. It was less commodity and more art. So when the streets hit hip hop, a lot of it, the parts of it that we loved, was being done in an extremely artful way. Nas was the second coming of Rakim. You see what I'm saying? You can see Mobb Deep was a direct tie to Nas, which allowed Queens to flourish in a way. You see what I'm saying? Jay-Z kept coming with a completely different perspective that a lot of us didn't even, not even a lot of, I can say me, I can speak for myself. I didn't even understand what he was talking about at first. It was over my head. You know what I mean? At that point, I didn't understand hustling on that scale at that point. You know, I understood hand to hand. I didn't even think about he had to be getting it from somewhere. You know what I mean? So it was all extremely artfully done. You know, so they were telling the story. You know what I mean? It was about the story that was being told, less about this person being a thug, or less about this person being a, you know what I mean? But as it grew steam, people started to, what's the word I'm looking for? Not inherit, but encapsulate. They started to really carry out it started to be more of a show. It became more of a commodity. You know what I mean? We still kept buying it. Now it's a lot of commodity and way more street. You know, when it was a lot more art, and then the art was reflecting the street. Now it's a lot less art, a lot more street, and a lot more commodity.
Right.
You know, I hope that makes sense to people. It rambled in my head, but I'm talking to you, so they can play it back. Shit, if it didn't make any sense, rewind it. You can listen to it a couple times. You'll feel me. Yeah. So, yeah, man. But I don't think labels care about the content. No. The labels is gonna sell whatever we buy.
Oh yeah.
They was selling X Clan and Public Enemy. They was selling De La Soul, Jungle Brothers, and and Tribe Called Quest, and they sold Game, 50 Cent, and Jay-Z, and now they selling NBA YoungBoy and whoever else, murder, death, killing out there.
Yeah.
But I cannot be a hypocrite and be mad about these boys creating murder, death, kill music.
No.
I definitely rode around in my car singing, "I'll kill you. I ain't playing." You hear what I'm saying, motherfucker? I ain't playing. I will kill you. What? And I'm headed to the clubs to have a good time. Yeah. Like, so is it our fault as a how do we fix it if it's our fault? How do we one of the ways we fix it is we encourage people that are starting labels, we encourage them to do it to add a moral compass to your record label. You know what I mean? And follow that compass for as long as you can, because once you get in there, you gonna get off. They're gonna try to get you off track to do some grimy shit. That's just the way the game goes. But set forth with the intention of doing it morally, right?
Right.
I don't know what the next thing would be. What the next thing? I change what you listen to. We can't ask these kids to do that.
Yeah, the only thing, and the only thing is about how we talk about music, like fashion trends coming back around. So that may be the only thing that changes, is maybe the style comes back around, like the X Clan, De La, Tribe, that type of vibe comes back around, or the more poetic Nas, Jay, like, you know, but who knows? Because what happened is the street life that we talk about, that Nas spoke about, it made it so beautifully poetic.
Yeah.
For me, it didn't make me want to live a street life. What it did is made me appreciate the artistry.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right? It made me be like, damn, he's nice.
Right.
Like, forget he said whatever he said about killing or smoking or drink, whatever the case is. Damn, do you hear how he said it and put it together?
Exactly.
It's fucking genius.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so to me, that it pushed artistry. Now, doesn't negate the fact that there is street element in it. What I see now is that the younger generation, because let's be real, hey, it's hard as hell being that good. But what we can do is cue in more on this street thing and magnify it and intensify it, and now you have op music. Now you have drill rap.
There you go. That's a beautiful point, bro. That's absolutely how. I mean, that was the timeline. You can see how it played out for us anyway. You know, maybe it's a quick, flash and how that played out for us. I had a question. I hope it didn't slip my mind. But with I think it was around Nas, right? When he was doing that, what point? This is where I want to. It's hard for me to ask the question. I'm trying to get the words in my head. At what point did you see Nas as a commodity? Because before there was a period in time, to me, because you making that statement, I just started seeing his career. You know what I mean? The timeline. So there was a period that it was all art for me. You see what I'm saying? Where it was poetry, it was street, it was art, and then it got to a point where it started to become a commodity. And visually, there's one visual that popped into my head when the commodity started. And not that he's not a great artist and he didn't keep doing great art, but they even jumped on, they even made Nas a commodity when he was 100% art at one point.
Right. I think two images. I don't know. It may not even be. Right. But I will say post it was written, all right, him in the pink suit and him up on the cross.
Those are the two
Or I Hate
images.
You Now.
Those are the two images I had in my head. I wish I'd have written them down. I wish I'd have written them down. You hit the nail on the head. Those are the two images. And honestly, Hate Me Now came first. And right before you started talking, Street Dreams came in my head. I was like, damn, Street Dreams was first, but Hate Me Now is the one. Like it was cracks in it with Street Dreams. But I think that was more than trying to do some casino art shit. Like he was just trying to be fly.
Even that was art.
Even that was kind of arty. Hate Me Now was 100% commodity.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? We're gonna sell Nas. Nas, you gotta sell some records. You know? But I think we've kind of gotten to a little bit of why we're looking at what we're looking at and the dilemma of why we even think labels should be responsible. Maybe we should just be, I think we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I'm just gonna say it right out. The reason this topic even came up, and maybe I know y'all, the listening public is intelligent, so y'all probably already got there, but it came up because we losing artists to gun violence, to, you know what I mean, like home invasions, overdoses, I mean, all suicides, all types of things nowadays in a way that didn't exist before, you know? So maybe part of the reason we asked this question is because it didn't exist in this way before. And there's got to be something that's happening now that's causing such an influx of death in hip hop. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, should the label be more responsible and try to cut some of this out? Like, what are they doing? What are they not doing? But via this conversation, I think we got to some things like there are some things that the labels could do. There are some things that I think the labels are doing. You know, but ultimately, I don't know that it's on them, and I don't know that it ever was or ever will be.
Right.
You know, but it is on somebody, and you know, and that's us.
Yeah.
You know, how we fix it, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, pie in the sky, right? You just got to get enough people swinging for the fences with, for lack of a better word, content that's not morally corrupt.
Yeah.
And if you can go through the roof with content like with genuine, artistic, good music and send it through the roof. If that happens 2 to 3 times, everything will shift. I believe that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I believe that. It'll shift 2 to 3 times. Something like that's what happened before. We got good wholesome shit that went through the roof 2 to 3 times back to back. You know what I mean? You get Public Enemy, you get De La Soul and them, and the next thing you know, you get, you know what I mean? It didn't take much else. You know what I mean? It got tilted and it was off to the races. And after that, you got Pure Righteous Teachers, EMCs, you know what I mean? Whoever else, whatever. You know what I mean? So there at least needs to be a big silo of it.
Yeah.
Since everything is so siloed today. You know?
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
How hot do it got to be for you to listen to it, though?
Oh, it's gotta be sizzling hot, man. No, but and that's the, you know what I mean? That's just the truth. Because now if this morally corrupt music is sizzling hot, then I'm gonna be listening to Force Family for Life for the rest of the time.
Yeah. You're right.
You know what I mean? One of my favorite albums.
You're right though. Ain't nothing wrong with what you said, because that's just the fan perspective. You know, I'm glad you started this conversation from the fan side of things, and I started from the business side of things. Not something we discussed, but when you brought that up, I thought that was smart. You know what I mean? That it happened that way. You know what I mean? Right. Because that automatically set us on opposite sides of the fence. You know, because I definitely hadn't thought about it from what the fans are experiencing, other than them not being devastated when an artist dies the way we were, But yeah, man. I don't know what else you got on this one, bro.
Oh man, I think that's it. All I'm thinking about now is going to listen to MOP First Family for Life. I love the hypocrisy of it all.
Facts. Because when I cut this off, I think I'm gonna rock the Infamous.
All I keep oh man, that's so bad. But yeah, man. Cause I'm thinking about when you say how hot does it have to be?
That
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so I'm thinking, right, yeah, it may be not the best message, but how it's put together, executed, and the rhymes is so fire.
Right. And I'm gonna lean in the fire every time.
Right. Because it's artistry. That don't have anything to do with the moral compass.
My moral compass is set. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm good. Whatever they talking about is not going to affect me one way or the other.
Right.
I'm also not 12 or 13.
Exactly. Right. True. That's
true. So I'm getting ready to go listen to something crazy. Right. Period. Now, let me ask you this. I know before we get out of here. The top artists of today with a good moral compass. Kendrick and Cole. We get them out of the way.
Corday.
Oh, okay. I ain't think about Corday. I never think about Corday, but.
Oh, that was if Corday watches this, that would be kind of hilarious. She said, "I never think about Corday."
I don't, man. It's like it's something.
Yeah, Childish Gambino.
Jid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, JID, I would say is on there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Wow. It ain't a mad long list. Wale.
I'll never think about him.
You see. Me neither, but he on there.
And I don't like his music. Except for the one.
Yeah, he got 2 albums that I really, really rock with. Ambition and the Seinfeld joint album.
Seinfeld. That's only because you told me about it.
Yeah, that shit crack. But yeah, that's the list right there that I can think of. Denzel Curry.
Pretty much.
Denzel Curry.
Denzel Curry. Yeah.
Nipsey would have been one, even though he was street, but he, you know what I mean, he kept it. Vance and Boogie.
I definitely say West Side Boogie, and I would even say Vince Staples.
Yeah. He talked reckless, but he do it in a way that brings it back to a point. He's not just talking reckless. It's like it's got a moral compass.
It's got
It's got a moral compass. And I think that's a good thing to kind of touch on before we get out of here too. It's like we're not asking for you to be conscious rap or you see what I'm saying, or whatever that is. You see what I'm saying? But to have a good moral compass and to tell the full story. If you're gonna tell the story, don't tell the ops. You see what I'm saying? Don't tell her I'm sweeping the block for my ops. Like, talk about how you really felt at the funeral. Talk about how his mom was pissed at you. Talk about everything. Talk about everything you went through. Tell the whole story if you're gonna use your moral compass. Even if you're gonna do some wrong, there's got to be a moral compass. You see what I'm saying? It's got to lead to something.
Right, and I think that's what it is. Okay, so now we take it to. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Violence, just for the sake of violence, to me never appealed to me.
Right.
I always loved mob movies because they was moving with a moral compass. So I didn't have a problem with them killing this person because they violated the laws that they agreed to live by, right?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So the point is, it made sense. It wasn't just killing just for the sake of killing. It had no point. But on the flip side of that, someone could probably argue it, but I wasn't into a bunch of scary movies. Just like someone just killing people, just to kill people.
Right. Like, you just got a maniac out here. Like, what are we doing? Yeah, I feel you. Right. I'm with you though. Right. I agree.
Right. And so yeah. So I think it should be a balance. Like, not saying that you can't talk about. I'm not saying anything is off limits to talk about, but it should be balanced. It
Right.
shouldn't be just one extreme. I'm just
Right.
killing my ops. There's the balance to
Right.
that. And like we very rarely get any backdrops on that, like real true backdrops and to any of those stories. But point being, it should be some balance to it, and it should be done with artistry,
Yeah,
with some degree of artistry to
that's
it.
important. That to
And
have
I
some
think that's what it is just the lack of balance.
the lack of balance, the lack of artistry, and the lack of moral compass. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, cause you can have a moral compass and go in one way, but balance is what's gonna allow you to really move
yeah,
how you want to move. You know what I mean? And yeah, you're right. That's what it boiled down to. If they had
yeah,
the artistry was still intact, um, you're more, artistry may lend itself to having a decent moral compass because with artistry you're gonna have a certain level of integrity, right?
hmm
So once the
hmm
artistry starts to wane, you know, your integrity can go as far out the window as you would like, and with that,
yeah, yeah,
you can throw the moral compass with it, and everything we kill anything, like you know, we slide on anything that
hmm
move at this point.
right,
It
right,
ain't even a retaliation. We just slide. It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's like damn. What
yeah,
happened? What happened? Like you
exactly.
said, what's the backstory? What happened? Why are you slide? Why are you so mad today?
Right,
You
right.
know. Um.
But see, you know why we don't get that backstory? You know why we don't know what happened? Because unfortunately, the majority of them aren't creative. See, true creativity helps to give balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every like creativity just innately it gives balance to
Yeah.
things. If you're
Yeah.
trying to be a true creative, it'll be
You're
balanced.
gonna have a certain level of composition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And with composition, you're gonna have to fill this scene
Absolutely.
out. You know what I mean? It just having an apple in
Yeah.
the middle of the
Yeah.
table ain't enough. You know what I mean? Uh.
Right.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Man, I think we hitting the nail on the head. I hope the audience don't feel like we let labels off the hook. You know what I mean? Because that wasn't the intent. I think the intent was
Right.
to kind of frame reality instead of
Yeah.
instead of being pie in the sky. So we know the labels aren't gonna do it, and I don't know that it was ever their responsibility.
hmm
And at some point we lost our sense of responsibility inside the genre and the culture of hip hop. You know what I mean? And we bearing the brunt of that now.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
and the sad
hmm
thing is the kids seem to be bearing the brunt of it because them the ones that's dying. It's like
Yeah. Yep.
mm, we could do all the complaining we want to do, but it's like you can't force them to do a different type of rap.
Yep. That's
You
true.
can't. You can't. Because I done had some conversations with some of my young boys that spit whatever, and of course they wanted to try drill, the
hmm
hottest new style out here. Of course they wanted to try it. You know what I mean? But if you ain't you see what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
that don't make sense. That
Yeah.
don't make sense,
Yeah.
bro. Like choose different content. If you choosing content, you know what I mean? Like if you choosing content, then choose
Right.
something different. Cause that's basically what you're doing. Like if you writing what's from your heart, that's one thing. But if you choosing content, you
Yeah.
bugging. That's another thing too.
hmm
A nigga it got to a point where it was okay for you to choose content in hip hop.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something that we didn't necessarily knowingly agree to.
hmm
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. We agreed to it, but I don't know that we knowingly agreed to the practice of choosing content in hip hop. You ain't rapping what's from your heart. You're not rapping what you see. You're not rapping your life. You just
Right.
choosing a topic and going down this path.
Right. We didn't knowingly do that. What happened was when it became McDonaldized, when it became McDonaldized,
Yeah.
and people could choose what cookie cutter
Yeah.
image they wanted to fit into.
Yeah. 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 I mean, yeah.
Because to be honest, before, do you know why there's only one Kendrick and one Cole?
Yeah.
Because it
Okay.
takes a little more
Right.
dedication to do
Right.
it.
Right. Right. Now I'm gonna hit you with a devil's advocate from an era before.
Okay.
The Locks speak about Big taking shots of them on the track because they was rapping. They chose their content. They rapped a lifestyle
The
that,
Lots.
yeah, the Locks rapped a lifestyle that had nothing to do with anything near where they were at that point in life. You see what I'm
Yeah, it
saying?
was what they were
And got on that
striving
song
for.
with Big, and Big was like, rap about it, but ain't living it.
Yeah, niggas rap about
You
it,
know what I
ain't
mean?
living
So at
it.
some
Yeah.
point, that's what I mean. It's like we unknowingly, and not to say they were faking, because they was close enough to the street to tell street tales and to talk about the street. But
Right.
they started adding sauce. And if
Right.
one layer of sauce get added here, and then this person pick on it and add a layer of sauce, and then this
Right.
person pick on it and add a layer of sauce, now it's a whole McRib when you get over here.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think, okay, but let's talk about it a little bit before we close out. Because I think it's a little different because they were street, but the sauce that they added was about, and I think it became popular to do, but about having stuff that they did not yet have.
It was aspirational.
Ranges. Aspirational.
Yeah.
They was talking about like rich stuff that they didn't have yet.
Yeah.
And Big is like,
Yeah.
they don't got that.
Right.
They're talking about they ain't living it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I get,
that's the thing,
I get
though.
your point, though.
That's part of it being unknowing, because they didn't purposely do that to us. They were being aspirational. But when it caught,
Right.
you see what I'm saying?
Sure.
But when it caught, other people was like aspirational. They didn't make that connection me and you just made.
Yeah.
So they started throwing sauce.
Mm-hmm.
I got more ice than such and such and such and such. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now we in a game full of liars.
Right.
You see what I mean? Like, not now. I'm talking about then we entered into a era full of liars. Everybody's lying. The fake jury era, because you know half of them niggas didn't have earrings this big.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, but that was unknowing though. We didn't sign up for that, knowing that's what we was gonna get.
Right.
But like you said, once the industry or the labels see that it's harder for me to sell this talent, but I can package this image. Once the labels caught on, that we started getting fed more and more of it, and that morphed into what we see today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's the label's responsibility to sell it, but it's up to us to give them the right thing to sell.
Correct. Yep. I think that's it. That's it right there. That's it. Yeah. Yep. That's it right there.
Yeah, I think that's it. Mm-hmm. I think we hit the nail on the head right there.
Right there.
All right, well, shoot, man. As usual, then we're gonna ask y'all to go to YouTube, subscribe to Conversate for a Few. Go to Instagram and subscribe to Conversate for a Few. Go to Facebook and search Conversate for a Few Extended Podcast Convo. I know that's long, but if you search for Conversate for a Few on YouTube, you will find us. Stay tuned for the limited edition Futane Clan merch. Yes. Thank you for being patient with us during the wait. We apologize for the distance. We don't anticipate leaving y'all no more. And with that being said, I'm Jonna.
I'm Alan. This was not a podcast about classical music.
Absolutely was not. This is a podcast about hip hop. Make room for the tag.
Conversate for a few. Conversate for a few. Hustle.
Welcome, man, they had to send me. Hustle from Raleigh, live from NC with your hosts, John and Alan. Relate to the two. You are now listening to Conversate for a few. Check it on SoundCloud, debate with your crew. They talking hip-hop from the late to the new. From July till June end. No Fridays for me. Tune in. Please listen to this podcast. 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 Please listen to this podcast.